Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Chicago sports fans. This is Barstool Carol.
And White Sox Dave.
It's Chief.
And this is Red Line Radio, an all gas, no break Chicago sports podcast brought to you by Barstool Sports Chicago, brought to you by Miller Lite, and of course, brought to you by Team Chicago, the Dozen Trivia Champs. No Eddie right now. No Eddie. Eddie is currently doing Dave Portnoy's show in person in the Chicago office. Dave's back in the Chicago office for the first time since obviously the famous viral video that went out of him walking through a Ukrainian.
What are you doing?
All-time moment. And I have to ask Dave Williams, White Sox Dave, you kind of got some shit from Portnoy for not showing up to work.
He didn't give a fuck. He didn't actually give a fuck. I've had cable and internet issues for like the last 3 weeks. And
3 weeks?
Yeah. I mean, I've had the internet and one TV going, but it's been in and out.
Okay.
It's been a fucking disaster.
I mean, over Christmas break is like arguably the most important time. That
is the most important.
Yes.
I was like kind of lucky for the first time in my life that I was in New York for 3 days or whatever it was, because it was hell dealing with Comcast. It is the closest I have ever been to saying, fuck you, motherfuckers. I am out. Like the
RCN
fucking
guy?
I don't. RCN's so bad.
They don't.
I don't know.
Fuck you.
I
RCN.
don't know.
And
I
fuck
don't
Comcast.
know.
Sling.
But
yeah, Dave. I thought you were. Well, you can't cut the cord if you don't have internet. Like that's the whole. You need the internet from somebody.
I paid $263 a month for my cable and internet. It is fucking outrageous.
Still use like student discount. You ever call up Comcast and be like, I'm a
is that a thing? No.
Call them up and tell them you're a second year student at DePaul going to night class and you need help paying.
So
is that a thing?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This is the
you call
first
up,
time
just tell them, hey, I've got economic hardships because I'm trying to better myself. I'm like in taking class, or I took on a second job, or like they'll play around with you. They'll give you some deals.
Okay,
but it depends on the person you get on the other side in the call center in Kansas City who wants to help you out.
We got to get Mr. Portnoy
usually
on the phone again.
They've been in India for me, like literally in the country of India.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I've been dealing with them, and I fucking was watching TV last night. Everything just shut off, just done. So I called them, obviously 24-hour hotline and shit. That's probably why it was midnight when I called them. So I'm like, I want people here tomorrow. I work on the internet. I demand someone, or you can cancel my thing. The only option you have right now is to send people here tomorrow or to cancel my subscription. There's nothing else that is acceptable to me right now. So they figured it out. They got two people out here. They got one guy out here, and someone else in my building was having cable issues too, I guess. So his like supervisor was in the building dealing with them. So they're fucking around with the TVs, and they get it to the point where it says there's an error code on the TV, but they still can't figure it out. And they're like, you have connection issues. I'm like, there's no connection issues. It says Comcast error code right there.
For the record, Dave lives in a building with many other people. This is a large building. Dave's not in a house
it's
or a
mid-rise,
flat or something.
Yeah.
Like you have many tenants,
yes.
and it's
There's
not
probably
just your
like
unit.
14, 15 stories, something like that?
No. It's 8 stories, but it's like 250 units, I'd say.
Okay.
So
Comcast has a relationship with a lot of people in this building.
Yeah.
Like if you have an error code, technically maybe other people have error code. Like it shouldn't be this complicated.
But so exactly. So but they're like, you have connection issues, and I think that's because if I a couple weeks ago I ordered a second TV. I ordered the box. I know how to install a cable box. It's very simple. You plug it in, and it turns on. And they're like, you have a connection issue. And on the phone, they said that if they have to send a technician out and it finds out it's my fault, I'll be charged $100. And I'm like, there is no connection issue on that TV. It says it's connected to the box. It says an error code. I don't get TV, but it says it's connected. And they were like, no, it's got to be something with the cables. I'm like, it's not the cables. I'm looking at a Comcast screen right now. There's something like in the system or something that's not connecting. So finally they're like, all right, they like conceded and they fixed it. And I was so fucking heated this morning. I wanted to kill somebody.
There's residual heat still.
There's residual heat. And then I fucking walk in and that little twink Danny's fucking zooming in on me with cameras and shit. Portnoy's giving me shit.
Well, that's Danny's job. He has to capture the moment where Portnoy's giving you shit.
Yeah, and
what he calls the late guy.
And he's not actually pissed. I don't think he's ever actually been pissed at me before. He was giving me shit.
He genuinely enjoys giving you shit.
Yeah, which is fine. Like I can handle it, but it was like I don't want to deal with this right now because I just dealt with these two fucking assholes from Comcast.
Which is funny, him walking around being like, "Where's White Sox Dave?" Where was White Sox Day?
Yeah. Well,
But I did
White
text,
Sox Day?
and I knew that he was coming in this week because I was out in New York last week. So I texted Ed immediately this morning. I'm like, I got Comcast. This is at like 8:30 in the morning. I'm like, I'm gonna be a few hours at least, probably. And I would have just told him. I would have told him like, hey, I'm leaving. You guys can do what you gotta do. But I had the fucking dog there, and they were like, and I wasn't gonna cage him because I haven't crated him in almost over a year now. So it's like I can't crate him for 6 hours today.
Yeah.
So I had to wait, and it was an ugly scene.
Where does Comcast rank on local excuses?
You know what? I almost want to give the techs the benefit of the doubt because they're just foot soldiers, you know. Typically, it's usually the assholes on the other end of the phone that are overzealous nice that are like, okay, sir, thank you for that answer. I really appreciate that answer. It's like, shut the fuck up and answer the question. Stop thanking me. Do you know what I mean? Have you?
Yeah, no, you're fired up, man.
Yeah.
This is serious stuff. Comcast will get you.
So yes, I'm heated this morning because of Comcast. On another note, if we want to keep our little vibe of like Barstool Radio going, really quick, for no reason at all other than I saw a buddy of mine say this is the most violent episode of TV I've ever watched. It's season 3 of the show Banshee. So I'm like, I'll throw it on and fall asleep to it. The most entertaining show I've ever watched in my life.
All right, first,
Outside of Squid Game.
shout out Brian Billick. Or who gave it to you?
It wasn't. It was just a random
Oh,
buddy.
I thought you
yeah.
said Billick gave it to you.
No, it wasn't Billick.
Oh.
It
I
wa-
thought we were going to go down a Billick path. I was open to it, too.
Was I talking about Billick?
I thought he
right.
did. I thought he gave you the Banshee recommendation.
No, it wasn't.
And
It
I
wasn't
didn't see
Billick.
Banshee
It was-
coming.
it was my
I didn't
buddy
know
James.
Banshee was in 1 season, much less 3.
It's 4 total seasons. I'm on like
I've never heard of it. Have you?
No, didn't even
I-
hear about it till I read Dave's tweet.
had never heard of it in my entire life and didn't do an ounce of research on what the premise of the show was or the plot or anything. I'm like, I'll fall asleep to this. It sounds violent. Like, I'll probably hate it and turn it off right away. It is awesome.
Do you do you
Awesome.
always fall asleep to TV?
I
or do you
have
not?
I have to have noise on when I fall asleep. Yes,
Like a noise machine or like dialogue,
I can do.
like Armageddon.
I would prefer TV, but like I can do a fan or something. But if it's just like dead silence, and
I need
what do you
I need a podcast or an audiobook that I've listened to. Like
No.
Yeah, you don't.
Do you
listen
have
to-
like your favorite readers in? Like, oh, this guy's so good at like.
Oh yeah, yeah. You don't have like the
I
voices
know. I
like
listened
that.
to audiobooks when
Yeah.
I worked. I used to drive around a lot, Chicago. I used to say it was like I would spend like 3 to 4 hours in the car, you know, in mid-market local sales in Chicago, just going to clients and
Yep.
stuff in prospects. So a lot of time in traffic, and that's when I touch the audiobook. The only problem I have with audiobooks is if I find breaks in concentration, if I lose my break for like 5 minutes, then I have to go back and rewind.
Absolutely.
I can't move forward if I lose a page.
I'm with you on that. Typically, if I'm like actually listening to listen, but when you're going to sleep, and like I have this one book, it's about this. Like Eddie and I have done a podcast about it. This guy Ernest Shackleton, he was just like a British naval explorer, and Antarctica. Yep. The narrator just has like the perfect monotone English voice, and you just 30 seconds, you're out.
Really?
Yep, highly recommend.
I got trouble sleeping too. Which is
anything
probably gonna
David
get some DMs from
Attenborough
people.
usually gets me.
Who?
David Attenborough.
Yeah. And what'd you say?
Well, I just said I have trouble sleeping, and I know I'm going to get some DMs from people like, try melatonin.
Yeah.
Nope, not doing it.
Well,
I know it helps.
I don't want to like
I
no
know.
ad reads today for the show, but 3Chi.
I know that, but I need like
is nice for fall.
I feel like I need a lot of doses, and then I can't get up. It's such I can't find the line.
Oh, the other way around?
Yeah, where like
Yeah.
if I'm taking it at night, and it's like if I take a little bit, then when it wears off, then I'll wake up at like 4:30 in the morning because
that's
like
not
I'm coming
good.
down on like if I take like a Delta 8 edible.
Yeah.
Like it'll last for 5 hours or whatever.
And then as soon
So
as it
after the
wears
5
off-
hours over, once it starts to wear off, like,
So just your internal body clock.
my
wakes you
internal
up.
body clock is fucking fucked. Like you would
Mine's-
think that I was conceived and raised in Las Vegas with my.
Dude, I think all 3 of us were probably similar to that because of our old jobs. Like I would be up at the latest 6 a.m. until probably I would say the start of summer last year. I started getting more towards 8.
I just clicked into that like this past fall. Like now I can sleep until like 7.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. 7's
nice.
nice.
I wake up at 7 and I'm out of bed by 8 now.
Oh, that's not bad. That's eight for our job too, because we're up.
Yeah.
And not to say like, oh, we're not like building skyscrapers, but like I'll be up till 11 watching the Bulls, and then I'll be like elevated. You know,
Yeah.
as it's hard to come down from like, okay, I was just tweeting, just did an Instagram video. Now you're like, It's not hard work. It's just the hours. That
Yeah, we're not
comes
shoveling coal. It's just you're just always on.
I had something I was gonna say that I forgot.
Talking sleep schedules.
Was it more about Portnoy? Because this is the first time he's been to the office, which is why he was giving Dave shit. It took him about maybe 30 total steps in here once he was off the phone for chewing some other person's ass out to be like, you guys are spoiled. So like, the old, like, what are we doing? We're with, $1 billion company, whatever, at our old office. He steps in here and goes, you guys are spoiled. So there's no pleasing that guy.
Yeah, when he came in, I was like, we're definitely going to get something from him.
Yeah.
But I didn't know he was on a motherfuck tirade for like 5 minutes when he came in here, which you have to be prepared with. Dave, like, comes in, you're like, hey, Dave, waiting for him to comment. And he's got his phone up against his ear. He's like, how many fucking times?
I mean, it put me on edge. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I'm going to stay in the studio
glad I was
here
late.
for a while.
So,
Yeah.
like, Dave, when I'm not joking, when he, like, gets off the phone, he's just got done screaming at somebody. And it's like, where's White Sox Dave? I know he's not mad at you, but there was an element here, I think.
Well, I literally, as soon as I knew this was going to be an extended fix, I'll say, by Comcast, I texted Ed. I'm like, yo, I thought I was going to be late for Redline today. It was such a shit show. So I told him, like, I don't think I'm going to be there until afternoon, dude. Because I couldn't get these guys out of my fucking house because then they would have charged me. And, like, I was like, I'll take the fucking verbal beating for today but I gave them the heads up.
Just absolutely terrible timing for you.
Of course.
Like, terrible.
That's par for the course.
Yeah.
In my
like
life.
me, like you guys, or you in particular, know Portnoy a little bit better than I do, or a lot better than I do at this point. I was putting the dog in daycare. Like, I'm getting here at 9. Like, I'm doing everything by the book because I don't know what time Portnoy's showing up.
I almost waited at home until like 11:30 to do the show to like get a couple blogs in. It's like you get up, like, once you get a couple blogs in, you're like, I can do a third one. It's 10 o'clock.
That's exactly. I try to every morning on a typical schedule. So like I'll throw out December, but I'll wake up and I'll try to blog from home because once you get here, there's like a bunch of commotion going on. It makes it a little more difficult to blog.
Big time.
So I'll wake up at 7. I'll walk the dog for 30 minutes or so, and then at 7:30 I'll crawl back into bed and I'll blog from my bed. And then after one blog's done, I'll shower, leave, and by that it's like 10:30 usually. But yeah, that was my morning today, and you know what? This conversation was a little cathartic because now I'm not mad. But when I got in here, I was like fuming pissed.
Carl, if you had looked at him the wrong way, your face is ripped off.
I was in the corner.
Yeah,
good.
I would have snapped.
I put my desk in the corner for a reason.
If there would have like I wanted to snap on Danny, like that put me at my wit's end. All it took was one other comment to be. It could have been from anybody, and I would have fucking lost my mind.
Well, I'm glad you're with us, Dave. I'm glad you kind of bounced back a little bit. You feeling better now?
I am. I'm feeling good. That just throwing Comcast's cunt's ass under the bus, that helped a little bit. A lot, actually. So I'm ready to talk some Chicago sports. Chief. What? I heard there was a good goal in the Hawks game or something last night.
We should do this before, if you don't mind, real quick. They're in town because the bar opens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I think Big Cat will be in tomorrow or whenever this drops today.
Yeah, he'll Thursday, Friday for Dan, and it's very rare that we get the big dogs in Chicago. So it's good to see. It'll be good to see everybody.
And you'll hear and see a lot from us about this bar in River North over like the next couple weeks. So I guess this is like, just be prepared. Like, there's a bar. If you guys want to come hang out with us, chances are,
I've taken a little walking tour of the bar. The bar is sick. The bar is sick. There's a basement lounge with like an active working fireplace. So like the vibes are going to be good. The food's going to be good. Portnoy found these guys out of New York and Florida who put together these different like kind of high end sports bars, and it's going to be sick. I think people will enjoy it, and we're going to be frequenting it a lot.
It's not and I have not seen it, but it's not going to be like a typical River North hangout.
I'll tell you what it is. I poked my head in there the other day, was walking down the street, was like, hey, door's open. I got these vibes. If you're from Chicago, I'm gonna tickle your balls for a second. I got the vibe. It was half public house, half state bar. Rest in peace. State
Okay.
Bar.
I liked State Bar.
The vibes are public
Yeah.
house. We're like, yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
probably want to, if you're there on a Friday night, like I'd probably have a collar.
Yeah.
Maybe you
yeah.
can. You don't have to. It's one of those places during
Yeah.
day drinking. It's probably gonna get rowdy, like how State Bar was. Like you could go in at State Bar in Lincoln Park at 2:00 in the afternoon and just fucking booze your face off with the boys. But then if it turned
loved
into
it,
8
yeah.
o'clock, then people start coming in bigger groups and
Yep.
girls and just like different vibes and stuff. So we're in the bar business.
We are in the bar business.
Come see us. Here's
Can I tell
another
you something?
Yes.
I've always, I know it's not our bar. I've always wanted to be in
your
the bar
bar.
business. I don't own it.
Yeah, but that's your bar.
I know, but I just want to be like, go around the table. So you having a good time? And then if they actually have a complaint, I'll be like, wow, I can't help you.
Yeah.
Actually, good
But,
news
yeah.
only.
Yeah,
I
but
asked
I like
Dante
the
Do you
idea.
have any
why-
nice things you want to say about this place?
Yeah, you having a good time?
For
Great,
that exact
yeah.
reason, like 3 or 4 months back, I asked Dante, I'm like, hey, say I got,
Jesus.
X amount of money and I want to invest it into Uproar.
I've talked to him about that too.
You've reminded me of what I wanted to talk about, and we're off to something here, Dave.
And he's like, yeah, I asked him as a joke for the sole purpose of saying, yeah, this is my place. Like, I could actually say that because if I have like 1% of 1% into his bar, then I'd be like, yeah, this is my place.
Well, I mean, he has the other place open up over by me that I had this very similar conversation. And then I also I mean, we talk about Declan's a lot too. That's my vibe. I just want a pub. I want a pub, an Irish pub that pours. What's that bar in New York that they serve?
McSorley's.
McSorley's, yeah.
They only serve
Light and dark.
Light and dark. So a nice Guinness and a nice Miller Lite. And that I just want to have sports on in the morning and just have it be like a cool, chill sports bar, Irish pub. That's all I want. And just ask people if they're having a good time. And now we're moving that way. So I feel great about it.
It's a huge step in that direction.
Big time.
Dave, you bring up spending money, starting a business. I had this idea for you because I know that we've talked before about buying a water tower and turning it into a gas.
Oil.
Yeah, it's crude.
Oil.
Sorry,
It's
what are we
crude.
talking
Yeah,
about?
come on.
Yeah, sorry. But here's a business idea.
I'm
If I
listening.
want to have my Comcast fixed, why do I have to call Comcast? If I need to get my Subaru fixed, I don't have to call Subaru.
Woo.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like
Keep
cable
going, keep
internet
going.
is literally the only commodity where you want to get it serviced, you have to go to the people you bought it from. And one of the great things about American consumerism and our retail economy and our individual fucking business sector is that you have choice, option, opportunity. I don't want to go down this path where Comcast is a fucking monopoly. We know they are. RCN sucks. Give me another alternative. They suck. Everybody sucks in this space. But if I just need basic help, basic servicing, why do I have to call, wait 2 months, get a fucking 6-hour window, basically go through hell like you did today? Why is there nobody else out there who's trying to start a business where it's there's no
a third
retired
party.
Comcast tech who's yo, I'll know the equipment we need to buy. I know how all that shit works. And why is Comcast not interested in instituting a third party? Fucking State Farm's got a whole fucking section. If your car breaks down, they'll send someone out to fucking help you. And State Farm doesn't own those fucking people. Now I'm going fucking.
I'm trying to come up with why hasn't this happened? Because it seems so obvious. Because that sounds like a great idea.
So I was obviously eavesdropping on these, on the one guy and then the two guys after a little while. They were on the phone with their HQ with Comcast HQ, wherever the fuck it was. And they had a direct line to people in the back end that would push buttons and try to fix it. So I'm assuming they just don't want, you have to go through Comcast.
Yeah, you need access to
They
their back
funnel
end.
you through it right
But
there.
they could definitely pay fucking Salesforce to come in and reconfigure a back end that can then be accessed by third parties on the fucking cloud.
I'm envisioning a scenario where I have this guy, your third party guy, Carl's Comcast support, in my apartment, and he's kind of troubleshooting, and then after a half hour, 45 minutes, he goes, "You just got to call Comcast." And I think I would drown the guy in my bathtub.
Yeah.
I think that's
but what if he showed up within the first 2 hours of you having a problem, was listen, I can fix most stuff, but if it's fucked up, it's kind of I can fix a tire, I can do an oil change, but your windshield breaks, you got to replace the bumper.
I just thought of another idea. Let me pitch you this one.
I'm here.
Okay. Part of the problem with Comcast and any service is waiting on hold. Could we have a third party? You call the number, they call Comcast. They wait on hold for you. give them your information, whatever they need. They fix it for you. You just go about your day. Like, phone service, you wait on hold and you figure out my problem while I go and live. And they're dealing with Comcast and they're arguing with Comcast and they're setting things up. I don't think that's a bad idea either.
All you have to do to get people to come work for that company, just give them a little bit better benefits, pay them a little bit more. But like, you have business for that. And you could do like a fucking a la carte thing where it's like Dave's got an error code and it's like you want someone there in an hour. They give you a formula for how much that costs. Might be a little bit more expensive, but it's like, yeah, if I want you later in the week, like I'll pay 50% cheaper. And by the way, anybody listening to this that pursues these business, you owe us 51%.
Trademark, intellectual. This is our intellectual property.
You entered into a contract the second you hit play on today's podcast. I do like this idea to do a segment of pitching each other stuff.
Yeah, it's like Barstool Chicago Shark Tank, and like we don't have any like ads in the show today. And I feel like we're just filling that with our own ideas, like our own businesses. These are ads for us. If you're in private equity or venture capital, or you just want to be an angel investor, invest in us and our brains, and
that's all you got to do. Yeah.
Yes.
Look at this. We got this far, guys. Now you bring the capital. We keep moving it forward, and this is a special fucking time, man.
I think we're onto something.
Dave, you came in mad at Comcast. I also want to say it's nice we don't have ad reads, and instead of talking about we are talking about local business, we're just fucking burying them.
It's not a local business. It's a fucking international conglomerate.
Are they?
Nah, probably.
Because I thought
Comcast is like its own thing out of Philadelphia, but
I don't get the fucking cable internet business.
I don't know. It's sleazy. These fucking guys.
The power grids.
I put in who owns Comcast. It's a guy named Brian L. Roberts. He's probably worth a decent amount.
I or Y in the name, Brian?
With an I.
Okay.
Brian L. Roberts.
Brian L. Roberts.
Dave, you know Brian Roberts from Bennett with the Y.
I do.
Big curveball.
I hit a go-ahead single up the middle, little chopper, two-hopper to center field off him for the go-ahead run that eventually won our game when I think they were ranked first in state my senior year, to beat them in the regional final.
Can someone get that story back to Mick Doyle, please? He's in my softball
I ran into
league
Mick Doyle. Yeah,
this.
I ran into Mick Doyle at Declan's. It was prior to the pandemic, but a couple years ago, and we laughed it up. But
that's about as local as we can get, talking about a kid from the suburbs who played shortstop at Notre Dame 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Chief, your brother just got a job with the Florida Panthers. Can we transition to hockey for a second? Give you a little personal congratulations to your brother.
Yeah, shout out Pat. He hasn't started yet. He's still in England, but he's coming over. The Panthers are awesome. I'm going to just be kind of a Panthers fan so I can have a rooting interest, and I feel like that's a valid excuse because it's like, hey, it's blood's thicker than water, or whatever that expression is. And that should be a WTF. I don't know where that came from. But anyways, the Hawks stink. They fucking stink. They played hard last night, but they've come back from in 2022. They lost 5-1. They lost 6-1, and then they were up 3-2 in the third and blew a lead and lost to Colorado. So like they're just not a good team. Having said that, this is a good day. This is a good day to be a Hawks fan. Interim GM Kyle Davidson has traded Alex Nylander. I want to throw him a parade just for that. Nylander, like that Nylander.
You've been bitching about that name for what seems like ever.
That guy. You know how you talk about like Starlin Castro, okay? Like all the bad habits. Like you could see the raw natural talent. A guy just $1 million body, 5 cent head, 0 cent heart. That's Alex Nylander, and that was the trade that kind of like just set me off. And they never really recovered because like they trade Jokiharju because they drafted Boquist, who also sucks. And like Bowman just had this history of acquiring these like European skilled bums that have no heart, and they just kind of like they kill the team. Like they kill the culture of the team. And I'd rather have 20 Brandon Hagels than one Alex Nylander, obviously. So like that is like, give me the guy with like the heart, who plays hard and plays smart and doesn't have a ton of skill or the pedigree, over Alex Nylander, who has all the physical gifts in the world and is a complete fucking bum. So he's off to Pittsburgh. Good riddance. I never fucking liked you. And now it's like, just keep getting rid of these types of Stan Bowman guys and try to rebuild this thing.
So it's more about subtraction than it is about Sam Lafferty.
Yeah,
like that's who's the guy. I don't know shit, but that's the name that came up from.
I don't know shit about him.
Okay,
so
cool.
he's a college hockey guy. Played at Brown, so you would think he's got a decent brain. and he's like a marginal NHL guy. He'll probably play at the NHL level for the Hawks, but not like no one's ever gonna be like, thank God we got Sam Lafferty. He's just like a warm body, but getting like half a roll of tape would have been like a win. Like this guy, I fucking hate. I hate, like, to me when I think of Bowman, I think of Alex Nylander. Ooh. And I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad we're on to like this next era. There's some, Scott Powers is writing articles about, maybe Ed Olchuk as the guy. I've been saying that should be a step that they should look at and pursue. And let's just like put a stake in the ground, get the right type of culture guys, get a president of hockey ops, get a real GM, and then get a real coach. And let's just start trying to build this thing back, because it has been a disaster for like 7 years now. It's been 7 years. So this is a good step. This is a good day. I'm happy about it. And it's just, fucking Bowman, man. I just can't like escape it. I'm ready to like just close the book. And I think, a few more things here and there fall apart. Like they're gonna this is the only thing to pay attention to now is who the Blackhawks are selling off, and this is a good first piece to sell off.
So then, for the sell off, I guess.
There's
for
more
a moron like me, just like Kane's not going anywhere.
Not this year, but maybe next summer. I think it's possible. Same thing with Taves. Like Taves had his best game of the year last night. He had a goal, but he was fucking everywhere, and it was like, that's Jonathan Taves. But if you watch closely, like he's starting to be able to, like, his endurance is just not the same. Like he can't dominate a shift for a minute 10 like he used to. He's 35 seconds and off, and it's a great 35 seconds, and that's fine. But it just seems like no matter what he does, like there's speculation about what it is. There's that thing called long COVID, where like he had COVID, and then his endurance, like he just hasn't been able to come back, and that's partially why they say he missed all of last year. And it's just, he was great. I don't know if he's going to be here beyond this next contract. I don't know if those guys want to, because it's going to change.
If you're in that back part of your career, any sport, you've already accomplished all this shit for us.
Yeah,
And when I say us, I mean the city. Like if you wake up in Chicago and you're like, yo, I have 3 cups here. I'm the captain. Or in Kane's perspective, I'm one of the greatest players in the sport. I'm certainly one of the best players in the history of this city.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm those guys, I would want to get the fuck out of here. I don't want my remaining legacy in my career after all this time to be like helping the Blackhawks get to the next level. Be like, yo, send me down to fucking Tampa. Let me go play somewhere and win.
Florida or something. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, like I have like an emotional connection to those guys. Like I'd like them. I can't imagine those guys playing in a different uniform, but they did trade Duncan Keith. I used to say the same thing about him, and it's weird seeing him. Like he had this pass over Christmas break, this like stretch pass, and McDavid sprung him for a breakaway, and it's just like, man, I remember when he was hitting Hossa on those passes, and it was just like it was great. He's doing well there. Like Edmonton's, they're falling apart a little bit right now, but it was nice to see him like playing and being competitive and like on a good team. And it's just like, it still hits you weird. Like this is just not right.
Yeah, I watched Marty Mush and Tommy Smoke celebrate Anthony Rizzo for a couple of months.
Yeah, like what?
Weird. But
like
those guys did more for the Blackhawks. It's different.
No, I mean it's similar though, and like they've been here for like Taves and Kane. Like they've been here. I think they had a stat last night where there's been 8 games since 2007 where they were both out of the lineup. So we're talking like thousands of games. There's been 8 where they both weren't there, and it's just like I want those guys here forever. But like writing is on the wall that next year is probably their last year here. So it sucks.
And then as I'm hearing you talk about like rebuilds and stuff, I think generally around rebuilds in Chicago, we are in a tough spot because of what the Bulls have done. Like the fact that AK rebuilt the Bulls, literally
2 years.
One top 5 player is he's not healthy. They have no like top first overall picks. A lot of second rounders play on this team.
Yep.
Like a whole fuckload of second rounders in late first round guys. And it just sucks because they've done it in 2 years, and how long did you sit waiting for the White Sox to be like, yo, give me a fucking good
4?
Yeah, and then you had to go through how many years of fucking 81 and 81?
10?
Right. Like where I'm
All of
coming
them?
from, I watched Jim Hendry try and rebuild with Jeremy Burnitz for years, and then you have the transparency of Theo, and obviously that takes a lot of time. And now it's like Jed Hoyer. Jed Hoyer can go out and win 84 games for 5 years in a row, and I'll hate his fucking guts for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate his fucking guts for it. And so I just think everybody in Chicago, especially with what's going to be happening with the Bears too, the fact that we can look at the Bulls, we're gonna be like, fucking, come on.
Do you
could AK be in charge of all the teams and then hire GMs for people?
Do you think?
I don't know if that translates or not.
What sport do you think is the easiest to rebuild? To do a rebuild?
Football.
You think? More than basketball?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because there's so many teams that have just been in the bottom. But I don't know. There's a lot of teams that have suck at football and suck at like the NBA, where it's just like, dude, you're always a bottom feeder.
Yeah. I think
that's the case with football too, like fucking Jacksonville.
What about hockey? I feel like hockey's so dependent on culture. Like baseball, you're like, yeah, whatever. Our culture sucks. Wait, we'll fix it in October. For now, we have the best players, so we're just gonna fuck you up. Like, who cares about our culture if you have Trevor Bauer pitching? Or that's a bad example, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys are
that's a very bad example.
Horrendous.
Possibly the worst example, but yeah, no, I think the hockey. That's what I always make that comment about Brandon Hagel, because I think that if you had 20 guys like him who are like, he's a very fine player, but he's never going to be an all-star. But if you had the right coach and 20 guys with his ability, you would make the playoffs. The Hawks have got a lot of guys more talented than him that aren't nearly as effective. So I agree with you that it is about culture, but it's to get to the top. Like I feel like it's like if your goal is to win a championship, I feel like basketball might be the hardest. If your goal is to be very competitive, I think it's the easiest.
That's what I was weighing.
Yeah.
Basketball, it's fucking so hard to win a championship.
You have to have like a top 3 player in the league, and then probably 2 top 10 guys.
Yeah, exactly. Baseball, you can get hot at the right time.
Yeah.
Do you think you can get baseball
salary.
or football? Which one do you think is like where the team's playing hot and that matters more?
Baseball. Because you're playing every day. I mean, a week, you could play fucking awesome one week, and then you have a week off, and the next week you fucking stink in football.
Yeah.
I'm so tainted by those Giants championships because I just got a sense like they were. I remember
they were
for both
fine.
those championships, they were
sport?
like for. I'm sorry, for the NFL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in both cases they were like 4-6.
Dude, people forget that Eli was going to get benched midway through that season for Jared Lorenzen. Like that was like a legitimate talking point. That was the 07 year where the David Tyreek that year. That like they were gonna bench him for the hefty lefty. That's how bad Eli, R.I.P. That's how bad Eli was during the regular season that year. And then they, like you said, they had the what was it? Is that the NASCAR defense where they just had all those
dude? They had like
Strahan, Justin Tuck.
Who's they didn't 72 have Jason Pierre-Paul.
They
had Umanawinora.
Umanera? Something like that.
How do you say? I know who you're talking
Obi
about.
Umanora.
Seahorn had retired. Let's be clear.
There has not been a starting white cornerback since Jason Seahorn.
I mean,
not one.
Not one.
I mean, I believe it. Seahorn's like one of those guys. 50 years from now, I will more vividly remember Jason Seahorn than I will like Moises Alou.
He doesn't get credit for being like so handsome.
USC, I believe, too.
Yeah.
Fucking big boy DB out of USC.
And sneaky, his wife from the 90s, Angie Harmon.
Really?
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
90s, babes. That was a hot decade.
Big time. Big time.
I like the 90s.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask...
but we're talking about the Bulls, and I got us way off track.
No, because with the Bulls had me thinking about something. Fuck it. Let's just talk about the Bears real quick. Good, bad, ugly? All right, let's do this. Good, bad, ugly.
Of?
Bears, I have news.
Okay.
Good news. Boomer Esiason this morning. Matt Nagy's officially been told that he will not be back as the head coach next season.
Grand.
And people said that Boomer is like a really legit inside source. Apparently, for people that listen to him in New York have been hitting me up in my DMs and like tagging me and being like, hey, yo, Boomer doesn't get the shit wrong.
No, I don't think he gets it wrong. I just feel it's really weird that one of the local guys wouldn't have gotten it first. Right? Isn't that a little odd? Because you know that every one of those guys are salivating to break that story.
That could be one of those things where like the org is just like, man, fuck all these local guys. You know, like honestly, like they could just be like, fuck those guys, and leak it through somebody else. So I could see that, but yeah, like it's just like I understand like people have been saying like, because I've been like, why the fuck haven't they fired him when they have this new rule in place where you can start interviewing people now if you fire your coach by a certain date, and the Bears let that pass, and now it's like they have announced that he's not coming back, and it's like, well, because they don't know what they're doing with Ryan Pace, and it's like
he might stick around the organization. They're saying
which
obviously that's crazy.
I wonder like what his contracts could he do, like a Kenny Williams, like you kick him somewhere else and he's around.
So Beefloaf wrote a blog the other day on he's like, and those guys don't get political in any way, and he wrote a blog and like on Lori Lightfoot on how she could fail upwards, and he's like, yeah, no one really likes her. I don't think it is a bad thing to say that at this point, but like we should just have her go like be the AD at Alabama, and all you got to do is just announce Nick Saban contract extension. Just go do that. You'll probably make a couple $1 million a year or whatever. And I this is exactly what I was thinking when I heard the Pace thing, is like just shove him off and just like give him his little fucking, $500,000 salary.
The red stapler, put him in the basement. The red stapler.
Exactly.
Yeah, make
exactly.
him like the last guy in the draft room. Like you're there.
He's had a few hits in the later rounds.
He's not a
Darnell
dumb guy.
Mooney just set the record for most receptions in his first 2 seasons by a Chicago Bear with 130.
Yeah.
The
You hate
all-time
that, don't
leading
you?
receiver for the Bears is still from. Did you tweet this?
No, you can't. You have to also jointly report that Darnell Mooney stand. I'm sorry, with the Allen Robinson news that he just like isn't playing anymore. So
Yeah.
there's something about him with COVID too. I don't want to get into this, but if you're gonna celebrate Mooney, you also have to accept the fact that Zach LaVine scored a lot of points. I don't know. This is a bad analogy.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's the Darnell Mooney thing. It's like, remember when it's almost like as a Bears fan, it's like that's nice, but it's like a dubious achievement. That's the record. How many guys have they had?
I
come
shouldn't have
through
read
here?
out 130.
Yeah, I wish it didn't, because 130 is not like.
The Vikings record's probably 190 or something.
Right. Like, what's Justin Jefferson? What's Randy Moss? What's, there's like the Bears have they've never had a quarterback. And then you want to run through your head of like the greatest wide receivers in Bears history. It's like Curtis Conway.
Yes.
Marcus Robinson.
I had a Marty Booker jersey.
Yeah, Marty Booker
was good.
Marty Booker was good.
86.
86, yeah. Bernard Berrien.
I guess
Johnny Knox.
I should have But what about? All right, then tell me if this is bad. What about Jim? Would you guys like Jim Harbaugh as a head coach?
No.
Is that bad?
Fuck him. I can't stand that guy.
I put out a poll yesterday being like, 4 thing, like, is he your number one choice? Are you open to it? Pass or fuck no. And it was like I think it was 65% were at least open to it. I woke up this morning because I've been like who should they get? And it's like I can't come up with a name.
I can't either.
So the fact that I can't there's nobody that I would be like fuck yeah we got him. I'm starting to warm to Harbaugh. The guy he just eventually just wins everywhere.
44-19 in the league. Obviously great teams in San
Super Bowl.
Francisco.
Yeah.
The reason I like him is I think you have to make a choice between, do you want a Nagy type, these young XOs, masterful geniuses like what you have in Staley and LA and obviously McVay. That's, the Bears go get Nagy, and we went down that path of the young leader genius. And now I think there's kind of this shift, do we want more of the CEO type, the older leader that can then just empower other people, instead of getting an offensive genius and being now run this whole organization, just have a guy who can run a whole organization who's not trying to get into the offense.
That's what I want. I think you just sold it so perfectly. Harbaugh, I would even keep Sean Desai. You can probably pluck a few guys from the current staff. Desai's had the Bears defense has been pretty solid this year, and even with all their injuries and COVID and whatever, if you have Harbaugh did take Kaepernick and go to the Super Bowl. So could he get Fields to a level where he's that good, or he's a guy who can win you games and you rely on the defense and you run the ball with Monty and Larry Borum and Tevin Jenkins as your anchors on your line? I'm getting more I just want to have a hard-nosed Midwest Bears football team and then let Justin Fields make 5 special plays a day. Then I think you might be okay. But if you swing for the fences on a McVay and you miss again,
It's tough.
It's tough.
Round and round you go.
So I think it's hard to have very strong opinions about John Harbaugh negatively or Jim Harbaugh negatively. If you're saying like, oh, I definitely don't want him, like people that were like absolutely fuck not are probably
he's
just
a
like
fucking
Niners
weird guy,
fans
man.
or
He
Michigan
is a
fans.
weird guy.
I can't stand
we're
the
talking
guy.
about the NFL.
Yeah. You hate him.
I've always hated him. Yeah,
Did you hate him before he was at Michigan?
Yeah, I couldn't stand him.
Why?
Yeah,
Even-
when he was
even
at
at-
San Francisco and
why?
Stanford.
I
he
liked
was-
him at Stanford.
He was trying to poach a bunch of
Remember
Northwestern
when he beat
recruits. So
USC as a 46-point
that-
underdog is like the all-time greatest moment. In
That-
college. I honestly never gets talked about. 46-point underdog.
That was incredible. And then the next year, I think they played. It was like it might have been Pete Carroll's last year, and they beat him again. And that was like the Pete Carroll. They like went for it to like go up like I don't know by 3 scores late, like running up the score. And Pete Carroll like confronted him at the 50-yard line. He was like, "What's your problem?" And he's like, "What? Like you've been blowing people out by 60 for 10 years. Like what the fuck are you talking about?" So like the fact that he was just like, "I'm gonna stick it to USC." I like that too. So the more we talk about Harbaugh,
I didn't know that story.
you like
I like that story.
Yeah.
I like that story.
Come around.
So
I'm now in the fuck no camp, but I've moved on to the pass camp.
You're level 3.
I'm level 3 now.
No, fuck no is level 4. Pass
Yes.
is level 3.
Yes.
You're in a pass.
I'm solely because of that story. I'm into the pass camp.
do you have a guy that you like that you would be like, nah? See, that's what I mean.
Bill Cowher.
I wouldn't hate Ryan Day.
I think
I would hate him.
I would rather have
Harbaugh
than Ryan Day.
I'd hate Ryan Day. I mean, Dave, no offense to...
I don't know. I don't know.
If you and I were the joint head coach at Ohio State, we'd go win 10 games.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But you could say the same for Michigan. They're always a top 5 recruiting class. Blah blah blah. It's got all the history, the fucking classic uniforms, the big house. You got all
Michigan
that shit.
was a disaster for what
Rich Rod. They weren't. They were
Brady Hoke.
going to bowl games. Brady Hoke and Rich Rod. Yeah.
Dude, they got way better with Harbaugh.
Yeah, definitely. He's a good coach, but at the same time, in like fucking 4 years, when I don't know the USC whatever job is beating down the door, and the Bears have a 7-9 year.
That's always the case.
That's always the case with him.
But that's always the case with everybody.
Lovie Smith longevity. How long was Lovie Smith here?
Not long enough.
10 years? Yeah, a decade. And they were consistently good during that decade. Not always great, but it wasn't ever an embarrassment like this.
We're way more embarrassed now than
they maxed out on Bears football. Like the Bears problems have always been the Bears problems. Lovie Smith was able to be like, we still have those problems, but we're going to be competitive. And like that would
went to a Super Bowl.
Went to a Super Bowl.
If it wasn't
They fired
raining.
him for winning 10 games.
Yeah.
showing up and knowing that you have absolutely the best special teams unit in the league every fucking year for like a decade. I'm trying to think of like what the equivalency of in other sports. It's like having Kyle Korver and Steve Kerr on your bench. You just feel so good showing up. You're like, well, we got the fucking bad boys. Like we got Hester changing the game. Obviously, Robbie Gould.
Yeah,
Robbie Gould,
So I wanted to talk about that actually. So I don't really know how Hall of Fame voting works in the NFL because I saw Hester. I thought it was just like any other sport. You fucking vote them in or not. I guess you have to you got voted into the next level round of voting or some shit.
There's like semifinalists and shit, yeah.
Has to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Without question, he is the best to ever do what he did. He changed the game in so many ways every time the Bears are receiving a punt or a kick. Mm-hmm. In every single way. And he chipped in an offense a little bit. He wasn't any good at it, but
there was
he
that
chipped
one
in.
year they needed him.
He chipped in.
He fucking went out and played receiver even though
They
Just have him run straight.
I was at this game. I'm trying to remember what year it was. And Hester was like, they signed him to that contract. Maybe they gave him like pretty big money and we're going to make him a wide receiver. And I was at the game and I believe it was Cutler. And like he's wide open down the middle, like streaking down the middle.
Was it against the Vikings?
I want to say it was against the Saints. And Cutler bombs it. It just hits Hester in the back of the head. Like 40 yards downfield, no one within 10 yards.
He only made $30 million in his career.
And he just got drilled in the back of the head. And he was just like completely oblivious at the ball.
Was that a Mike Martz year? I feel like Mike Martz was like
2010.
We need a guy to blow the top off.
He had all goes, all streaks, all the
It
time.
was him and Johnny Knox just on opposite ends. Hope he's doing well.
Johnny Knox, no. My buddy played softball against him up in the North Shore a couple summers ago and said he can hardly walk. because of that injury.
That's
yeah.
terrible.
Said he weighs like 130 pounds.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Well, good luck to Devon Hester, Dave. And that was the last point. Great transition there. Great natural.
I'm shocked. He only made not even 29.25 million in his career.
Pretty big money for a special teams guy.
Yeah, I guess that's true, special teams guy, but yeah, like the most electrifying athlete this town has probably ever seen. Just in terms of like, I'm not talking like MJ like taking over.
No,
like,
I know.
We've edge of
talked
your
about
seat.
that.
Like he's gonna get the ball here,
Yeah.
and he might give the Bears the lead.
Now, I mentioned earlier that we were talking like, how do the Bears local guys not get that scoop? I want to talk about Ken Rosenthal too. Talking about
that's the
guys who
last
just
dog.
get
The
like,
last-
fucked. Like, what was your takeaway from that, Carl?
So everyone's mad and everyone's pointing fingers at Rob Manfred, and I feel like the headlines indicate as such. If I only read headlines and I'm not interested in definitions or facts, then you read these headlines, you're like, fuck Rob Manfred. I'll also say that I've been considered a Rob Manfred defender, and I'm biased because we watched a Mets-Cubs game together, and while that might be interpreted as true, it's not. It's not. I want baseball to be better, and I hold Rob Manfred to a standard. I like the guy. Professionally, some shady stuff going on.
Okay.
He's a nice man. I say that because I want to give some background on this. Ken Rosenthal did not get fired. Ken Rosenthal's contract was up at the end of 2021. MLB Network did not renew his contract.
Why do you think that is, though?
Now, I know there's stories of him criticizing Rob Manfred and all this stuff, but like, I'm not going to fucking sensationalize a story of a guy whose deal is up, and MLB Network was like, hey, we don't want you back.
Who owns MLB Network?
I know MLB does, and the owners do, and all this stuff.
right.
And
It would be.
it's owned by MLB Media.
You're arguing semantics right now. He was more or less fucking fired.
Yeah, but if you're Ken Rosenthal, you're like, dude, I got the athletic thing going. I'm the Fox Sport Inside Dugout guy. Like, I'll guarantee you those fucking daytime views for MLB Network outside of hot stove season when it's like 11 a.m. are fucking trash. Ken Rosenthal could probably get more of an audience if he just streamed Instagram.
Probably. My point with asking that question is I don't have a problem with Ken Rosenthal popping off about Manfred. I also don't have a problem with the network being like, hey man, like don't talk shit about the big guy or you're out. Like go get a job somewhere else. I think both things are very reasonable. Now, if ESPN or Fox fired him because he was criticizing Manfred, then I would be like, wait a second. What the fuck's going on here? But if you're working for the network and you're being like, this guy my boss sucks for X, Y, and Z, odds are your contract's not getting renewed. And that's not like a Manfred thing. That's just like a real world thing.
That's like a life.
Yeah.
Like,
But
I'm
if-
shitting on my boss. And like, if we spent the next 10 minutes just shitting on Dave.
I don't think, but I think this is the one place where you can
Yeah.
do it. This is the one place where you can criticize the big guy and get away
I
with it.
jokingly tweeted about how I'm like, I tagged Dave Portnoy. I'm like, fucking hire him, dude. Throw a bag at him. I would love it if he just kept the exact same nerdy little bow tie persona and everything and was giving, because he always tags like sources tell at Barstool Sports. So I kind of, when I would do the scoop shit, I would say sources tell at Barstool Sports, blah, blah, blah. Like, I would love that. And then to mix it up with,
It's not like he's out of work, though.
No, I
he's
know.
still like the editor-in-chief for the
he makes
Athletics
millions
MLB.
a year.
Oh, dude,
yeah,
absolutely.
millions. He
I
is
would love to know what the Athletic paid him.
millions.
I have another thought about the Athletic.
Let's go.
I think it's a house of cards.
Keep going.
I just,
Is
like,
this because of our Beanie Baby talk yesterday?
no.
What is
But-
what, Dave? Sports journalism. I trust you, but that was
Look at
Well,
it.
I mean, they're it's like Rome. They're trying to expand too fast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that they're always running these deals where it's like
Exactly.
80% off your yearly subscription, blah 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 blah. And I think they do a good job, but I think that their
Great job,
salaries
yeah.
are probably. I hate the local hockey coverage here from them, but I would say that they have all these big names. I'm sure they're paying them pretty big salaries, and they're trying to do this massive expansion without like a loyal audience. Like, yeah, like I'll pay 99 cents for the first year. And then it's like, yeah, well, I don't know. So I want to know what like if they're profitable. My gut says that they're not.
I also don't want to admit this, but I will admit it. I'm reading less.
Oh, I never read. Fuck reading.
I'm reading. There was
obsolete
10 years
technology.
ago, before even like Twitter really popped off.
You're
I know it was
you're
around.
a book guy.
Yeah, I like books.
Yeah.
I like them.
Yep.
I remember sitting in like initially when I first got to my cube and like, how do you sit there? How do you waste time and stuff? Like, you just read blogs.
Yes.
And then how did you know about these blogs? It'd be like somebody at work would be like, "Have you read this blog? This guy's funny."
Yeah.
Like there wasn't. You couldn't like read. You weren't getting news from like, "Oh, this went viral." Like
No.
nothing really went viral, right?
It
Unless
was
it was
like
like on
YouTube.
YouTube and
Yeah.
someone emailed it to you.
Right.
He's like,
yes.
"Yo, did you see this fucking lady fall into grapes?"
Yep. Yeah,
Which is a
that's
thing that happened.
that was a thing.
Wonder what's going on with that lady.
But yeah, no, I agree. And now books are done and long form things are done, which is too bad. I like long form, but I think I'm more into like I'd rather listen to a podcast. You know?
Yeah,
About-
like 2 experts,
Yeah.
4 experts, or 3 regular guys like ourselves
Mm-hmm.
chop it up. There's one last thing on my list. Do you guys have a favorite year? We didn't get a chance to talk about this. Do you guys have a favorite year of Madden? Play Madden a lot. I played a ton of Madden.
The last one I had was the Vic cover 04, I think it was. And I would just hit that fucking circle button.
Just spin move for touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think because I was always more of a college football video game guy than Madden.
Yeah.
I remember the year they went to the passing cones, and I think I was in high school. Does that make sense? Like maybe 02, 03, something like that. I'm like, no. I'm done with this. Give me like
the vision thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't have
once you hit the
time for this.
passing
I got a 5-star in Louisiana. I'm trying to
the
sign.
Steve
So-
McNair cover, maybe.
No, Eddie George was on a cover.
or
Steve
Eddie
McNair.
George.
I think
George.
Eddie George was like the first guy, right?
Yeah, that was when
Yeah.
PS2 came out. That was
Yeah.
Madden 2001 because originally
Yeah, because it made it way too hard to fucking. And I'm like, I
John
can't do
Madden was
this.
on the cover.
I remember in prep school, like that was like the last time I played it. So that was probably 05. And it was just like, give me the Vikings. I'm just in Culpepper.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it to Moss.
That was my closing point.
Oh, okay.
Nate Burleson,
Yep.
Randy Moss, Michael Bennett out of the backfield.
Yep.
He was
Who
so
could fly.
fast.
He could
so
fly.
fast.
And I want to say
Yeah.
Nate. I said Burleson. There was another receiver that could fucking fly on that team.
I remember the Vikings receiver. I
Chris,
remember
what's his face?
Jake Reed. Do you guys remember that name? 86. Like it was like Moss, Carter, and Jake Reed. And Jake Reed was like sneaky awesome. And I don't remember. You guys
What
know
position?
he's a wide receiver.
No.
Wore number 86. I won't. Maybe I'm getting his name wrong, but
I don't remember that name.
All right, let's take a second to look at the 03 Vikings roster.
No, I got Jake Reed's stats up here.
Jake Reed?
Jake Reed.
I don't remember him.
He had in
Mike Tice, that fucking
1997. Or I'm sorry, from 94 he had 85 catches, 72 catches, 68 catches from 94 to 97. So like he's a good player.
Wow.
And then Moss came in and his, production dropped off dramatically, but he was a good player. Jake Reed, shout out Jake Reed.
I also want to give a shout out to Jim Kleinsaucer.
Ooh, big fullback.
He was neck and neck with Schlesinger.
It's like an all-time fullback name though. Like he can't be a quarterback with that name. Like you're born and you're like, if you're gonna play football, you're a fullback.
I don't disagree with you. I also feel like that guy, like Kleinsaucer, you get a full ride to Wisconsin. They're just like,
Yeah, you have to go to
the
Wisconsin.
recruiting
Go to college,
coordinator for
yeah.
Wisconsin just roaming baby rooms in hospitals across the Midwest looking for big German last names and offering them full scholarships.
Or Polish.
Yeah.
Guess where he went to college?
Oh.
University of North Dakota.
Yeah, that makes complete and total sense.
Rode a fucking bison to class.
Yeah.
Shout out, Illini are back. Expect some news on the Illinois front. And then the last thing, Jimmy Fallon gives credit to White Sox. I have a problem with this for White Sox fans. You guys really enjoyed it, and I thought you guys enjoyed it too much. And you guys are like giving Jimmy Kimmel,
I didn't
Jimmy
give a
Fallon,
flying
Jimmy Fallon like
fuck.
credit, and people are like, "Oh, this is great." And it just White Sox fans can be a little thirsty at times, and this is one of these cases where like no one's making fun of Jimmy Fallon. Like Jimmy Fallon puts on a White Sox and he's like, "Yeah."
Jimmy Fallon
Jimmy Fallon.
stinks, dude. His late show sucks, I think. But I just like the picture of the dude because it's the quintessential White Sox fan.
His name's Jake, I think.
Jake, yeah. I was shooting the shit with him a little bit yesterday. I think I've met him before because I recognized his last name too. But just a fucking White Sox fan with long greasy hair, a mustache, and one of the like Happy Gilmore beer hats. And like he was just having the time of his life there. I can't believe that picture took like months to come out because that was from the blackout game. I never saw it until the Jimmy Fallon thing.
And did that just go viral the other day, or was it?
I think so. I don't remember ever seeing it. I was obviously glued to TVs and shit, but I never remember seeing it. But yeah, there was. I fucking love that guy. Just like the most White Sox fan you could possibly just imagine.
We got a Burley shirt for you, Jake. Game worn by White Sox tape, not Mark Burley.
Yes.
Important distinction.
Jake, if you're listening, hit me up.
Last thing. I meant to do this in the Bear segment. Ugly. My take on Robert Quinn. For the last year and a half, I've ridden this guy.
That doesn't.
I mean, yeah, I know. But I did like a rant on him in the second week of the season. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Harry, you might have been.
It was a bad penlity.
Yeah, it was a bad penalty, but it was just stupid. Like I owe Robert Quinn an apology. I blogged about it.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's like single season. No one has been more. No, the only. I am now in competition with the man to my right about who could be more wrong about a player in the city. It's Zach LaVine versus Robert Quinn.
Oh yeah, I was way wrong.
I mean, everybody was wrong on Quinn though. He was horrible last year. He was awful last year.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I was like an above and beyond loudmouth asshole about him. And I got a big platform. I mean, like, you know, it's like I'm not tweeting to avoid. Like, I'm telling people, like, fuck Robert Quinn. This guy sucks. I can't believe TJ, I can't believe JJ Watt gets more. Wait, JJ and TJ? Those parents suck.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just realized that.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry.
That's a good point, too. But credit to us for being, we could have just dug our heels in and been like assholes about it. But no, we took the high road. Hey, hand up. What's it, mea culpa? We were wrong.
I was wrong.
Yep.
Feels good to say that. Feels good to get a red line out. Second one in 2022. We're going to have a great fucking year. Big bounce back year for teams in Chicago. It's going to start with the fucking Chicago Bulls. So
Bulls.
All gas.
No breaks.
DJ, play that shit.